Hey, what's up guys? Christian here for KRISCOART'S Productions, and welcome to this first installment of a series of videos that I'm going to be making all throughout this month. It's just going to be a bunch of videos where I show you guys how to imitate some of the effects that you see in the very popular TV show The Walking Dead. So what we're going to be doing today is trying to imitate the intro that they have in every season. So it's not specifically to season 1 or season 4 or whatever. It's just imitating the feel that they have in every intro. So let's get started. I'm gonna import some footage that I shot over in Italy. I found this awesome location. I don't even know what this place was, but it was just huge and it looked insane. Okay, so we can see that we have just a slight pan, nothing major. So one of the first things that we're gonna do is replace this ugly blown out sky with something a little bit more interesting, maybe like a time lapse or something like that. So let's select a clip and let's apply just a basic color key. This isn't the best way to do it, but because we will be color grading this and applying a bunch of grunge textures on it, it doesn't have to be perfect. So let's select the color of the sky and let's just bring the color tolerance up just a little bit until you see some of the details starting to disappear. Okay, so that's pretty good. We are losing a little bit of detail in the tower, but nobody really knows what this place looks like, so if we're losing just like a roof or something, it doesn't really matter too much to me. Let's just feather this the edges out a little bit, and I think that looks decent enough for what we're going to be doing. Now next up, I'm just going to drag and drop clip here that I have of some clouds just moving through. So let's just isolate this clip real quick, and we can see that it's going from night to day, and I think I want the opposite, so I'm just going to right click on the layer. Let's go under time and time reverse layer. So now our clip is reversed. Now let's just find a good spot where to begin. Probably just about there. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. Let's bring everything back up and let's probably push this up. Let's just do some basic color correction of the sky to match our footage. Drop it onto the time-lapse layer, and I'm just going to knock out some of the contrast quite a bit, and then just kind of do something like that. Let's see how that looks. Okay, now let's apply some curves to our footage layer, and just going to bring this down just a bit, and let's go back to our sky, and we're just going to kind of be going back and forth. Something else that we can play around with in the color key here is just thinning out the edge just a little bit. So that's looking a little bit better. Again, we are losing some detail. Like for example, you can see that originally this had like a little pillar over here, and with that amount of keying, we do lose it, but it doesn't really matter because it's all broken down. So this might add more just decay to the overall thing. So I'm not too worried about it. I think it looks a lot better this way. Alright, now to blend things even further, you can just play around with matching the color even better. I did a pretty terrible job here, but for the sake of this tutorial, let's just speed things up and move on. I'm going to add a new solid, and it could be any color. Make sure it's comp size, and click OK. And what I'm going to add to the solid is just a simple ramp effect. Alright, now we're going to select this top color, and we're going to pick a warm orange. Something like that. And for the bottom one, we're going to pick a really dark gray. Alright, now we're going to set the transfer mode to overlay. And you can see we're we're getting somewhere. It's matching a lot better, but this is obviously too intense. So let's just push up the blend with original. Just pick an amount that you like. There are no rules here. It's just what looks right to you. Now, as you can see, the sky isn't really following the camera movement, and what we have to do is we have to just create a tracker. so that the sky can follow our pan movement. So we're going to create a new null object, and we're going to select the clip, and we're going to go under animation, track motion. So let's pick a point where we can easily track this image, and let's just pick it as further away as possible. I'm just going to grab this guy right here, see if it works. Analyze this. Now you can hit play and it'll just, go through the whole footage and it'll just track it, but I don't know if it's true or not, but I found that if I just go frame by frame, it has less of a chance of messing up. Again, I don't know if this is true or not. I've had so many bad tracks that I just do it like this every time now. So, alright, this is pretty good. So now what we're going to want to do is make sure that the target is our null object that we created. So that's good. And we're just going to hit apply, X and Y, yes. And now we have a null object that's just going to be sticking to the background over there. Alright, so now we're going to parent the time-lapse footage to our null object. Now you can see that we are seeing some of the edge over here, and I'm going to show you two easy ways to fix this. One I already know is not going to work for my type of sky that I have, but it may work for yours. So we're going to type in motion tile, and we're going to drag that onto our sky footage, and we are just going to expand the output width, and we're going to hit mirror edges. So you can see, as it says, it's just mirroring the edge and it's just repeating it this way. If you had a more clear sky and it's just more of a solid blue with just a few clouds in the middle, then you can get away with this. It wouldn't look as bad, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply just delete that, and the second easy fix is just to simply scale this up. Yes, you're going to lose some resolution, but hey, what can you do? Alright, so now before we move on to the actual just color grading and getting out those grungy details out of your image, let's add some grunge textures, and I'm not sure if this is exactly copying the season 4 intro, or it might be in season 1 or 2, but we're just trying to imitate the overall feel of the Walking Dead intro, so it doesn't have to be an exact copy. We're just trying to be original here. Alright, let's create a new null object. So what we can do is we can just name this sky null. Just get organized a little bit. By the way, I'm clicking and hitting enter on my keyboard, and that just makes you rename all the layers. Okay, we're gonna name this grunge foreground null. It's kind of a long name. Alright, and just to keep organizing our stuff, we're just gonna name this footage sky. Okay, so let's click on our footage, and we're going to track motion yet again, but this time we're going to pick something in the foreground. So I'm going to pick this little guy over here, and let's track backwards. Let's go here and track forward. This doesn't have to be a perfect track, and you're going to see why in just a second. Okay, so make sure that our null object is the grunge foreground null, the one we just created. Click OK, hit apply, OK again. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to import some grunge textures, and I have a couple already imported, and we're going to place them above everything. Alright, so you can see that they're pretty high resolution. That's pretty important. Let's, in my case, rotate this 90 degrees and just scale these down just a little bit. Alright, now let's parent this to the grunge foreground null. And what you can see is it's just creating this You know, it's kind of moving with the camera, just very subtly. And what we're going to want to do is just scale this even more. You know, make sure we're not getting any of those edges over there. So let's see how that looks. All right, that's pretty good. And we're going to set the transfer mode to, we can try a couple. Let's try soft light and see how that looks. This is just preference, but one thing that you could do is just add a circular mask in the center and set it to subtract and just feather it like crazy. Maybe even more. Alright, and we can apply curves to that grunge texture. And just kind of create a nest shape. And you can go ahead and try a couple different ones like overlay and see whichever one you like best. This actually isn't too bad. So yeah, just definitely play around with the transfer mode and just with the curves. Just remember that this kind of controls the darker range of colors of your image, and these are more of the highlights. So you know, just play around with that and try a couple different transfer modes. Depending on what you're doing, you know, either one might work. I think I'm going to stick with overlay. And another thing, if it's too intense for you, you can always drop it down to maybe 60%. You know, mess around with the opacity. Okay, so I think this is pretty good. All right, I'm gonna add one more layer of grunge. So we're gonna create a new null object, and we're gonna name this grunge middle ground null. All right, and we're gonna go back to our footage as usual, and we're gonna track motion. And this time, let's pick something somewhere in the middle ground here. Okay, well, let's try this little corner over here. And again, these don't have to be perfect. As long as the general motion is there. Okay, so there we go. Now, grunge middle ground, that is the target that we want. Hit apply. Okay. Alright, and now we're going to add, let's just change up the texture a little bit. Alright, let's try one of these out. Let's parent this to the grunge middle ground null. And let's scale this up. Maybe even just stretch it down. Let's try overlay. Alright, overlay. And you know, we can just mess around like how we did with the other one. Alright, that's not too bad. Let's maybe push this up. Push that up. Okay, and once again, make sure that our edges are scaled to the right amount. So let's, oh, wait. Okay, so that's our starting point. Let's go further in time. Looking good, looking good, looking good. Our sky is, there we go. Alright, not too bad. I think this is looking pretty decent, and don't worry about if it's too saturated. We're going to go into color grading in just a second. Let's add a quick vignette to the whole thing, and this one isn't going to be moving, it's just going to be a lockdown vignette. So comp size, we're just going to double click on the circle. That's going to create a circle for us. Set it to subtract. Hit F on your keyboard, that'll bring up the feather, and let's set this to like 500. And or actually let's put it to 300 and scale this up, and then set this transparency to like 50. Alright, so now we have a subtle vignette. Now finally let's move on to color grading. So what we're going to be doing is creating a new adjustment layer. We're going to be applying curves to it. Before curves, let's apply tint. So let's place that above curves. Let's set our tint to 25%. And let's start playing around with the curves. So let's see. So I just brought this up and back. This kind of takes out some of the contrast in the shadows, but then it kind of brings it back in the rest of the colors. And let's create an S shape, something like that. It's looking pretty good, pretty grungy. Now let's go under our red channel and let's take some of that red out. Now, as I recall, the Walking Dead intro has kind of a greenish, sick feeling to it, so let's try to do that, but not too much. At this point, I'll be honest with you, I'm just playing around with these curves. But that's really all this is about, is just, just play around with these settings until you find what feels right to you. Okay, let's do a few more things. Let's just add a hue and saturation to it, and let's go under our reds and let's bring those down a touch, maybe not so much. Let's go under our yellows, and we definitely want our yellows to be a little bit more desaturated. So I think this is looking pretty good. Now, another cool thing, if you want to track in text like how they have on the show, it's really easy because we already have null objects set up. So wherever you want to place your text, whether it's in your background, your middle ground, your foreground, you can pick any of these nulls. So let's just see how that looks. Let me demonstrate that for you real quick. Let's add a new text. And let's just type in the Walking Dead. Alright, I'm just trying to imitate the title here. Alright, let's push this down a little bit. Okay, so as far as the font that I'm using Impact, but if you do want to get even more specific to the font of the show, you can download a font. I'll put a link in the description. I believe it's called Dead Kansas, and you can see that's pretty spot on. We can probably make this like a yellowish color. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Or you could even drag in, a grunge texture, scale it down, scale it down, kind of match the size of your text, scale it down even further. Alright, and what we're going to do is select on the track matte and click on alpha inverted matte, and now we're seeing our texture with the shape of our text pretty much. That's what that did. And you can go back in here and change the look of the image. So what we can do is add my favorite effect, curves, and just add some really basic contrast, and you can apply tint to it just to pick whatever color you would like. Let's see here. How does that look? Maybe a little bit brighter. Okay, so that text looks pretty good. What we're going to do is just pre-compose this layer, pre-compose title, and we are going to select, let's see, we probably want this more in the middle ground. Alright, so as you can see, the title is moving with kind of these bushes over here, so you could even place it down below, or you can place, so-and-so production presents, and place it down here, place a name down here. Alright guys, so I hope you found this useful. This doesn't have to apply obviously to just The Walking Dead. I hope you can use some of these techniques in some of your other projects. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did like it and if you found this useful, please share this video. I can't stress enough how much that really helps, and you know, liking and subscribe. I appreciate the love, and I'll try to keep these videos coming for the rest of this month, and I'm going to try to break down a couple more visual effects that they have in The Walking Dead. So definitely stay tuned, subscribe, and alright, enough of me rambling. My name is Chris Trini for KRISCOART Productions. I'll see you next time.